I have been spending almost hours upon hours just trying to move files from this Microsoft bullshit. Microsoft intentionally overwhelms people. Okay, if I say I want to delete something or move something, they have 10 questions about whether I need to move it or not. If I want to try to cancel a certain type of application, they give you a whole almost 10 pages of why you should not cancel. So Microsoft, you need to get your shit together and stop overwhelming people because it's intentional. Because if these people had no, because this stuff is complicated. It's very complicated for me. Just imagine elderly people and children who get onto these sites and trying to just have a website, but yet they have all these questions about why you shouldn't delete, why you shouldn't, and always give you these threatening kind of messages that, oh my God, you're about to delete something forever. You fucking liars. So Microsoft, you need to get your shit together because all you are a monopoly. And what you do is intentionally overwhelm people who do not understand your fucking software. Okay? Like I said, I should not have been spending hours trying to figure out how to move motherfucking files. And if I try to delete this, you make it sound as though I'm, erasing every goddamn thing on my computer. All right, you're full of shit, and I want you to stop it because I know elderly people are the ones being victimized. You can't get rid of a subscription because then they'll always send you threatening messages that you don't have enough storage, and that's illogical, and it's a bunch of lies. So I wish somebody would do something about Microsoft. Get them from they're just like Amazon too. They're so big with all these products because they want to monopolize everything that they don't control it. They have other people controlling it, and then they lose sight of what the hell is supposed to be done with this stuff. Okay, Bill Gates has no idea what he's doing any more than that dude that shoots shit up in the air, Amazon owner, and all the rest of those billionaires. They have no idea what they're doing. Musk, all of them. They're just overwhelming people, keeping people tied to subscriptions that they don't need, always threatening them they don't have enough space here. You need, and then if you try to delete the service, they give you all these threatening messages about how you can delete something forever. And most people, if they're elderly, they don't want to delete stuff forever. They just want to get rid of a damn subscription. So it's intentional overwhelm to get people in circles, inner circle, and they're lost. And then they end up being victimized because they have their accounts tied to this, usually a checking or savings accounts tied to this shit. They have their credit cards tied to this shit. And so these accounts will go on forever being charged, and these people could have been dead, 5 and 10 years ago, and all their money is gone. And it's intentional. Banks do it too. They get you tied to your checking accounts to these motherfucking apps where you can never delete it. So that means they're going to keep charging you, even with mortgages as well. They do the same thing. I remember a case where this man had been dead for I don't know how many years, but yet he had been paying a mortgage, monthly mortgage going through, and it wasn't until almost 2 or 3 years that people realized that man hadn't been seen in 2 or 3 years, and it turns out he was murdered. So this is all intentional overwhelm. It's just to keep these companies having, if people had choices, that we could take billions and billions and maybe trillions of our money from these billionaires. Okay, Gates and Musk and all these other ones, Amazon, all of them that do Virgin Islands, all of them. Okay, all they do is live off of our money, and it's via these subscriptions where you can't, and that's tied to our checking and savings accounts. And like I said, I'm sitting here hours upon hours and getting myself all worked up. See how I got just all worked up for that, and I really ought to not be worked up, but you can get worked up like that. See, that's my ego was doing all of that. We're getting all worked up about that, but it takes calmness to step in and say, look, this is intentional overwhelm, especially to elderly people, to have their checking accounts tied to this stuff. So I say get rid of automatic bill pay. Or what is that called? That automatic withdrawal from accounts. That needs to stop. That should not be allowed because, like I said, if you were to pass away somehow and nobody can find your passwords, they're not going to even know that you have this all set up until all your money is drained. Because these people at these institutions like banks and everywhere else, they can care less. All they want is these monthly monthly, what do they call it? Automatic withdrawals ought to be illegal. Stop the automatic withdrawals immediately. They're illegal because all it does is tie your money. It guarantees that these banks get your money. It guarantees that these subscription services get your money. It guarantees all of this stuff that may not be relevant to someone my age and older. Okay, and even it could be people in between as well. Okay, we're being manipulated again. We're being taken advantage, and it causes me to be overwhelmed. Because like I said, I don't want to be a burden to people, but I know I got to handle my business. And my money, I need to know my money is safe. And it's not. It's not safe if you have these automatic withdrawals, these automatic taking money out of your accounts. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna delete all of that and get it back to something really basic and easy. And that's what elderly people need help with that as well. Because the banks are not helping them. Remember I told you about the situation where this Latino woman had someone taking money out of her account. She was disabled and she had to go into the bank to resolve it instead of the bank bringing someone out to her to resolve her situation. So, and then the woman had to eventually call for law enforcement. Now, how is that? Why? And she was an elderly lady by herself, and I think that's what they do. They target elderly people that live alone, that they know that they live alone. They're widows, and or some of their members of all, they're just living a longer period of time because their other family members have passed on. They don't know their younger generation of people, these like their nieces and nephews, and because they probably don't even trust them. You understand me? So yeah, that frustrates me because because I'm having empathy for what if that was my mother or my father or my elderly relatives trying to figure this stuff out. So Microsoft, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You do this shit intentionally. Same thing with Amazon. The same thing with that Virgin Island dude, Musk, all of you. That's why you want subscriptions, because you know that's an endless flow of money coming out of these people's accounts, and you know their accounts will be tied to that, whether it's a credit card or whatever. All these apps do the same thing. So that's what we need to be focusing on. Okay, we need to be focusing on that, protecting our elderly people instead of worrying about everything else that we seem to be always concerned about, like war, wasting our money. Because all of those subscriptions, I bet you all that money they're taking out for subscriptions, automatic bill pay, and automatic this and automatic that is going to wars, to pay for these wars that we are always seem to be saturated with. Okay, that's frustrating to me because I know it's affecting billions of people. And so we need to resolve it. And I'm going to do everything in my power to resolve it as well. But this is my beef for today on Sunday. When I told you I got all this other stuff that I'm thinking about. And then I said to myself, well, I'll have my wife worry about it. But I'm not going to put that burden on my wife. Why would I do that? Especially if my wife got her own business and her own thing and doing her own shit. Why would I put burdens on her? I will not do that. So that's my beef for today. It feels good to get it out. And sometimes, like I said, this is going to be good and bad days. And sometimes you just got to vent and let it out and let people know what's happening. Because it's so huge. Everything's so huge and so intentionally overwhelmed. It's an intentional overwhelm. And they know when it comes to money for certain people, or just knowing that you'll have a safe place to live, comfort in your own home, and not realizing that your bank accounts have been drained, your credit cards have been, exceeded the limit. And then you have to try to talk to a bank representative, and you think they care? And then try to talk to them on the phone. Do you think they care? None of them care. And I'm going to say none of them care and let them prove it to me that they do care. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed this. This is stuff we need to really need to get a handle on ASAP, because that's what I'm saying. They're using our money for these wars. That's the only way that they could be able to afford it, is using our money to pay for war. And did we sign up for that? I didn't. And I'm sure you didn't either. So I'm going to say peace and love. And definitely, once I delete all of this shit, I'll be back. And then I can move on to the things I want to do. I want to send peace and love to everybody over the stars, over the moon, and the mountains. And I'll be back.